They say that when looking at something that happened, you have one person's word, the other person's word, and then the truth. But when the various stories are murkier than a muddy puddle surrounded by fog inside of a snow globe, in a country where stories reported in the media can never be trusted, and often the authorities themselves can't be trusted either, then getting to the truth is a very real challenge. Then when the victim of a crime is a kinda, sorta celebrity, things become even more salacious. And the oft-forgotten fact is that a young person lost their life viciously and cruelly. So we're going to Brazil in 2018 to try to unravel the final hours of the life of footballer Daniel Correa and the aftermath following his death. This is Murder of Crows. Right, well, Brazil. It's fucking big. And by big, I mean almost incomprehensibly ginormous. Brazil, or to give it its full name, the Federative Republic of Brazil, is the largest and easternmost country in South America. It is the world's 5th largest country by area and the 7th largest by population, with over 212 million people. The country is a federation composed of 26 states and a federal district, which hosts Brazil's capital of Brasilia. Its most populous city is Sao Paulo, followed by Rio de Janeiro. Brazil has the most Portuguese speakers in the world and is the only country within the Americas where Portuguese is an official language. Now, one of its 26 states is Paraná. And Paraná is in the south of the country. It is bordered in the north by Sao Paulo state, in the east by the Atlantic Ocean, in the south by Santa Catarina State and the province of Misiones, Argentina, and in the west by Mato Grosso do Sul and Paraguay, with the Parana River as its western boundary. The state is home to 5.4% of the Brazilian population and generates 6.2% of the Brazilian GDP. So even this fraction of Brazil is still pretty darned sizable. Breaking shit down further still, Sao Jose Dos Pinhais is a municipality in the state of Parana within Brazil. It is a part of the metropolitan region of Curitiba, with geographical and religious origins in the city's name being a homage to Sao Jose, Saint Joseph, and to the extensive pine tree forests that used to cover the municipality territory, Pinhais. The creation of the municipality of Sao Jose dos Pinhais was made through the law number 10 of the then province of Sao Paulo on July the 16th, 1852. And this law specified that the headquarters of the city would be called Villa of Sao Jose dos Pinhais. But the political establishment, with the installation of the city council, occurred later on January the 8th, 1853. On December the 27th, 1897, the village was finally elevated to city status. Sao Jose dos Pinhais is the second most populous within the MISO, and the population has grown rapidly within a short time. In the year 2000, there were approximately 196,000 inhabitants, and in 2008, that number had risen to over 280,000 inhabitants. So we've now drilled down into Brazil, and we've drilled it down into the bite-sized chunk that we need to look at. And before we look at a party within this municipality, we need to look at the background of one particular attendee at this party, that being footballer Daniel Correa Freitas. Often just referred to, as many Brazilian footballers are, by a single name, that being, conveniently enough, Daniel. He was a once promising young footballer whose burgeoning career was curtailed by what would become recurring injury issues. Having left Cruzeiro's youth setup at the age of 14, he joined Botafogo, and he burst into their senior team as a precocious 19-year-old and made an instant impression, with the young man becoming a staple of the team in a very short time, with him even netting a hat-trick in May of 2014. Later that year, he would suffer a knee injury, which would end his season early. But despite this injury, he had made enough of an impression to secure a move to Sao Paulo, which placed him on the precipice of a superstar career in his native country. What neither he nor his new club could have known at the time was that the knee injury that he had suffered would represent the first in a series of recurrent injuries that would limit him to just 8 appearances for Sao Paulo over the next couple of years. And the rehabilitation process would see him loaned to other smaller, more inferior teams in the hope that regularly playing and regular game time would help him kickstart a career that seemed to have stalled as a result of the injury problems. On the 27th of October 2018, Daniel, still just 24 years old, was attending a party in Sao Jose Dos Pinhais. Nothing remarkable about that, apart from training and playing. That seems to be what footballers pretty much do. Now, on this night, he met Allana Brittes, and Allana's daughter was the birthday that this party was happening for, and the daughter and Daniel were friends. Precisely what happened after the meeting, as I suggested in my opening, depends on who you believe. But it seems that Daniel was to be involved in a prank that would backfire in the worst possible way. 35-year-old Allana was married to 38-year-old Edison Brittes, and she asked Daniel if she would help to prank her husband, and he readily agreed. Daniel and Allana arranged themselves in bed together for a photograph that she would send to her husband, thinking and hoping that he would laugh off the image of his wife in bed with the young footballer. But this opinion was so wrong. Edison Brittes flew into a jealous rage and broke down the bedroom door, as you do, and began viciously attacking Daniel. Now there always has been, confusion over who else was involved in the attack and the aftermath, as the investigation later will show. But what would be in no doubt, after Daniel's mutilated body was found in dense brush outside the city, was that he had been tortured and killed and, well, his penis was cut off. Mutilated remains were discovered on October the 27th. He had been partially beheaded with a sharp knife, and his genitals dismembered with what was believed to be the same implement. The victim's genitals were recovered from a tree where they had allegedly been tossed. Perhaps not the best choice of words there, I do apologise. As an investigation began, police found blood spatter on the walls and floor of the British couple's bedroom, and also in the garage and in their car. I think it's fair to say that the police were convinced that Edison Brittes was the main aggressor, but the difficulty for authorities came in trying to establish who else was involved in either the attack itself or the aftermath. Detectives firmly believed that other guests were also involved in the initial assault, and at one stage even arrested the couple's teenage daughter Allana, whose 18th birthday party the attack had happened at. But there are other stories and possibilities for what provoked the attack. One is that Daniel was planning to seduce and or rape Christiana, as suggested by WhatsApp messages he sent to his friends. Daniel sent a series of selfies on WhatsApp showing him lying in bed alongside Allana's mother, Christiana, with him quoted as saying, "I'm going to devour the birthday girl's mom and the dad is here." Apparently written by a grinning Daniel. And ominously, one of Daniel's friends replied, "That guy is going to beat you up." So as a result, Edison Brittes' story was that he was trying to save his wife from being sexually assaulted. But just 2 days after the horrific event, Edison Brittes was arrested on suspicion of murder. a murder to which he quickly confessed, claiming to have acted in a moment of madness after hearing his wife's anguished screams coming from their bedroom. In a later televised interview with a Brazilian television station, he described smashing down the master bedroom door to find the young soccer star lying on top of his wife, with Allana Brittes saying she was screaming and begging for help. What I did was what any man would do, because the woman that was there was not simply my wife. She was every woman in Brazil. It could be your daughter, sister, mother, or wife. And at that moment, it was my wife, Chris, who I have been married to for 20 years. He went on to say, when I threw him off my wife, I threw him on the floor and stopped her being raped by that monstrous scumbag. I hit him a lot, and took him out of the house. I don't know if he was awake or unconscious, or if he had just closed his eyes. I wasn't thinking of anything. I had a knife in the car, a small knife which was with the tools in the trunk. I did not know I was going to do that. I was desperate, beside myself with rage. I looked in the trunk and saw what was there. His version of events was apparently backed up, perhaps unsurprisingly with them being family, but it was backed up by both Allana, who told police that she had heard screaming from her mother's bedroom, and Christiana herself, who in a statement to detectives claimed she woke up to find the footballer rubbing his penis against her before her husband stabbed him. A quote from this time says, Christiana confirms that she suffered sexual abuse without penetration by Daniel, who rubbed his penis on her. A quote there from her lawyer, Claudio Dalidone Jr. And her lawyer went on to say, she was drunk, asleep, and thought it was a dream. She saw him on top of her and started screaming. The police were not yet convinced that this was the truth, as investigator Amadei Trevisan making this clear, and him saying, "The facts don't add up. We are identifying who was in the house with the main suspect on that night. We believe 3 people entered the room with Edison and the player in order to kill Daniel. Regardless of what happened between Daniel and the wife of the main suspect, the reaction of the aggressor was disproportionate. He was beaten and killed cruelly." Now, Edison Brittes defiantly continued to insist that he committed the crime on his own, hinting that he would do the same again if he had to, with him saying in the same TV interview as before, "Rumours always get started, but the truth will come out. I know I did what I did. I want everybody watching to think what they would do to keep the moral integrity of your family and help a small and fragile woman." Whatever the truth, the authorities were still not convinced that Edison Brittes acted alone. Edison and Christiana Brittes were both formally charged with the brutal murder of football player Daniel Correa Freitas, and a forensic report suggested that the footballer might have been alive when his penis was cut off. Investigators had already concluded that Edison Brittes should be indicted after he confessed on TV to killing the 24-year-old. However, detectives decided to also seek a murder conviction against Christiana, along with procedural fraud and coercion of witnesses. Prosecutor João Milton Salles said, "Following the analysis of the investigation, the conclusion that I reached was that this homicide would never have happened the way it did without the decisive performance of Christiana. She allegedly led the player to believe that the joke of taking a picture next to her would be harmless and viewed in the circumstances in which they were taken. Several other guests at the house party, there to celebrate Allana's 18th birthday, as we know, with her being the couple's daughter, Several other people were allegedly involved in the assault. Salesh continued by saying, Christiana knew the character of her husband and his violent personality. When the murderous acts that culminated in Daniel's death began, we believe that she did not try to prevent his execution. The family's lawyer, Claudio Daledon, challenged the claims, with him saying, Christiana tried to prevent the player from being attacked. More than one witness heard her calling for help to stop the crime. Also charged were Allana Brittes, accused of coercion of witnesses and procedural fraud, Eduardo Percot, accused of serious bodily harm, and there were several other defendants, and these included Celso Alexandre Pacheco Quevedo, who was a known drug trafficker. After a 3-day trial in March of 2024, defendant Edison Louise Brittes Jr. was sentenced for the triple qualified homicide of football player Daniel, who died in 2018. He was sentenced to 42 years in prison.
Os jurados, 4 mulheres e 3 homens, entenderam que apenas Edson Brittes foi o culpado pela morte de Daniel. Ele foi condenado por homicídio triplamente qualificado, ocultação de cadáver, fraude processual, corrupção de menores e coação do curso do processo.
A pena definitiva de 42 anos, 5 meses e 24 dias de reclusão e ainda 2 anos, 1 mês e 8 dias de detenção, além da aplicação da penalidade de 1.397 dias multas, colocando-se aqui que a pena privativa de liberdade será cumprida inicialmente em regime fechado.
Valeu a pena todo esse esforço, todo esse trabalho, 5 anos a assistência de acusação correndo atrás desta condenação.
Evelyn Perusso, David William, Igor King e Eduardo da Silva foram absolvidos de todas as acusações. Allana Brittes foi condenada por fraude processual, corrupção de menores e coação do curso do processo. O juiz definiu que ela deverá cumprir 6 anos, 5 meses e 6 dias de reclusão. Já Christiana Brittes recebeu a pena de 6 meses de detenção e 1 ano de reclusão em regime aberto pelos crimes de fraude processual e corrupção de menores.
But whatever the truth, still as clear as mud at this point in time, it would seem that Edison Brittes' reaction to the situation with Daniel and his wife was disproportionate. If, as he claims, he was trying to rescue his wife, he needed only to stop Daniel doing whatever he was doing. I appreciate that in the heat of the moment that rage can amplify intended actions, but I have no doubt that things went far further than they needed to, and a man died unnecessarily. Whether a prank gone wrong or something more sinister a young man still died, and this video is dedicated to him. He may have been in the process of doing something entirely abhorrent, and he may not have been. We may never know the truth. But I am still convinced that he did not need to die. So in that sense, he was undoubtedly a victim. Thank you for watching another episode of Murder of Crows. Please like, share and subscribe. Doing any or all of these things costs nothing and really help me out. So go on, do me a solid. And with that said, I'm Steve. This is Samson, and we'll see you when we see you.
Say that you're ready, but you won't like it, you say